Good morning, my fellow drones. This is Biogodum here to do a review on the anime series known as Capo, which is based off a visual novel, or as you know, my friend that anime synopsis called a porn game. So yeah. So I think going into first impressions when I was getting into the show, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, okay, this is based off a visual novel. It is a romance, and magic and shit's happening. I mean, you know, it could be interesting. I mean, I don't know what exactly to expect, but might as well watch it. I mean, might as well watch it. So I think the first time when I tried and checked out the show, I couldn't really get into it for some reason, and even to this day, I still don't know why I couldn't for the first time. Maybe it's because I wasn't in the right frame of mind, or maybe it just wasn't something I'd be interested at the time. And when I gave it a second chance, I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I did, and I think it's decent, and I think it's somewhat decent for what it is. Of course, I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but I definitely think it's a lot better than some of the crap we get nowadays, although that isn't really saying much. Okay, so I think since we've got first impressions out of the way, let's move on to the story. And before I continue with the story, just a quick side note, I probably will break up the story into a couple of parts and be kind of, you know, give a general basic of what's going on, because not very much is really happening, and it's probably better for me to wrap it up in a more general take, because if I like go into more detail, this video is going to be like probably much longer than it needs to be. So just need to do that brief quick side note. So story takes place on the mysterious island of Hatsumi, where the cherry blossom trees bloom all year long, and apparently there is a rumored magic tree that can grant wishes. The smell of love starts to fill the air. Our main character, Junichi, has a mysterious dream about a girl that says that she is going to meet him in the near future. After being woken up by his stepsister Nemu and being brought back to reality, you know, he tries to continue his day like normal, even though that dream that he had kind of is, you know, kind of at the back of his mind. While doing his normal day-to-day routine and on his way to school, there seems a bit of a stir of a commotion happening. As it turns out, his cousin Sakura has come to town. Kind of shocks our main character and his stepsister, because they figure that she was in America studying. But it turns out that she has come back to the town to finish old business. And by I mean old business, she has come here to make good on the promise that she made to the main character when they were children. And since this is based off a visual novel, I think we can all guess what that particular promise entails. So the first half of the story is episodic life moments pretty much, and school life adventures, swimsuit episodes, etc. Like nothing really much is going on. I mean, this is stuff we've all seen before, some we've probably seen it done better. I mean, it's just very typical stuff. It's just day-to-day activities, really. Nothing really special here. I mean, the only thing that's slightly special is the few mysterious things that are going on the island, which is revolved around them, their magic tree, and how this island has kind of like a bit of a supernatural presence to it. And by I mean like the weird shit going on, I mean we have one of the classmates of our main character gets badly injured, and while she's recuperating from her injuries, a robot is apparently sent to the classroom to replace her so no one misses her. And you know, the main character gets involved in looking after this robot version of his childhood friend, who he's sort of taking at the path of, do I consider this robot my friend, or do I just consider this a robot, like just a copy of someone who is not here? And also, there's also a cat maid introduced, the main character, and kind of does all the chores for him, because, you know, cat maid, and, you know, magic setting and cats, so why the fuck not? Overall, I found this first half kind of boring to watch. I mean, the only thing that was slightly interesting about it was, you know, the robot chick and the cat girl maid. No, because I was sort of hinting that, you know, there's more to this island than just happy-go-lucky school life shit. But I guess one thing I did like about this half of the series is it does a very good job at building up the relationship between, you know, the main character and between the main character Nemu and Sakura, and I think it does a very good job at building up their relationship. And it just sort of like, you know, shows a bit more of the characters that are still around. I mean, it does a good job at showing a bit more of the characters. So overall, I think this first half is kind of like a give or take, because I mean, on the hand, yes, I find it very boring and kind of very standard. Like, I can see most of the things, you know, coming from a mile away. But at the same time, you know, there's a few interesting elements to it, like the whole magic thing and the robot, the cat maid, and building up this relationship and sort of fleshing that out a bit. So I think that was really cool. But but sadly our story can't be happy-go-lucky for too long, because in the second half it gets a whole lot darker. Well, not as dark as like people are dying, and dark, more along the lines it's starting to take itself seriously, and there are now actual consequences. So if you'd like to know what I mean of it being more serious, the second half of the story pretty much focuses on this love triangle that is starting to develop between, Junichi, Nemu, and Sakura, with them both fighting for his affections until eventually, he picks, the girl he likes, which was kind of dramatic and heartbreaking, because pretty much what happens is that, we can't have a harem in the series, even though that could have been an option, but, that's not exactly the route the show wanted to take, and I kind of respect it for that. It's trying to say to us, like, yeah, listen, main character, you can, I know you like someone, but you can't have both. You have to pick one or the other. No choices, no options. And, pretty much what happens is, he picks the girl out of those two that he actually likes, which is his stepsister. And because of said choice, it leads to some consequences. For example, because of Sakura's unconscious jealousy and her feelings towards the main character, pretty much what happens is the magic tree starts getting involved, and stuff starts to happen. Nemu starts losing memories, she gets pretty much knocked unconscious randomly at will, and starts coughing up flower buds, and Sakura, realizing that she is the one causing this suffering, tries to stay away from her main character as much as possible in order to prevent more unhappiness, because she understands that, hey, I may like this guy, but what I'm doing right now is me being around him, and my jealousy is making him less happy than he was before, and no matter how much I care about him, I don't want him to see him suffer by hurting the people that he loves. And I think that was kind of cool. And stay away from him doesn't even help. In fact, it escalates even further with basically bad things happening to, Nemu. Like I said before, she's even, like, after, we're gonna fail it, like, and pretty much things escalate to the point of where Sakura has to destroy the tree, the magic tree, that is fueling, or I should say, granting her unconscious desire to get the main character. And basically, pretty much what happens is she destroys the tree, and the magic that was part of the island starts slowly disappearing. And because the magic from the island is disappearing, there's also a bunch of other consequences that also happen. For example, the cat girl maid, she starts to disappear because the magic that was allowing her to take the form that she's currently taking right now is slowly disappearing, and now she must return back to what she was originally. And also the robot girl, which I mentioned earlier, yeah, she starts to go away as well, because I guess her time is nearly up as well. And I think what really makes those sort of have impact is that the main character actually cared about these people, and now these people are going to go away forever because of his choices. And I kind of think that's really cool and really interesting about them, because it handles, because what I really like about the second half is it handles itself with a sense of maturity, because pretty much it's what it's trying to say is like, okay, main character, you've got to make a choice, and here are the consequences of said choice, cause and effect. And I really like that. And I also like how it took this sort of love triangle seriously enough, because as we all know, love triangles and, the feelings and stuff like that, they can get very ugly very quickly. I mean, I've watched a lot of crime stories and a lot of anime, and also movies for that fact, where they did a similar concept, and it turned ugly very quickly. I mean, it didn't go to the level of School Days ugly, but, it's definitely nice for it to try and be a bit more realistic when it comes to the whole love triangle approach. But yeah, the story wasn't without blemishes and negatives. Like I already said before, the story for this is a kind of a very average story, which has been seen many times before. And additionally, for some reason, there are some magic elements in the story, with the main character and his cousin who are able to use magic, and, the magic tree that grants wishes. Now, I didn't exactly have a problem with those elements being in the show, because they worked very well with the stuff that comes later on. One thing I didn't like about magic being in the show is the fact there isn't really much explained about how this magic system works in this world. And any information we're given about it is pretty vague. It just seems like the magic in the show is pretty much do whatever you want. And yes, I know it's a visual novel adaptation with romantic comedy elements, and I shouldn't take the magic elements seriously, but the kind of lack of information kind of bothered me. I mean, they explain absolutely nothing. It's just like, oh, mages can cast magic. Okay, where do you learn magic from? Who can do magic? Can anyone do magic? Or do you have to be part of specific, family trees or stuff like that? They never really explain to me. But I will give credit where credit is due. And I really like the fact is when they try to use magic to solve problems, it made things a lot more worse. So I guess, I mean, that was kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of shows where, you know, they have magic and they just use magic as the end all to be all to solve every problem instead of trying to talk it out or use alternative methods. So I'll give it credit for that, and I think we should move on to the characters now. The main character is pretty much your very run-of-the-mill visual novel protagonist who is kind, thoughtful, always wants to help people with their problems, even if he's the one who'll be most affected by it. Although I kind of wish they kind of went into more explanation of why he's so uber selfless. I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, he's just a nice guy. Well, are you going to explain that? No? Okay, we'll roll with it. The side characters for this show are very one note. For example, you have an airheaded rich girl who cooks hot pot for her younger sister on the school roof every day and just kind of just hangs around. I mean pretty much the entire cast of the side characters and most characters as a whole, I mean, they don't really have much of a presence or a personality. I mean, they have a basic personality to an extent, but presence, goddamn. Like, I mean, the lack of presence they have, they're just sort of there. I mean, it's like, oh, it's that character. Who are you again? Like, I'm a person who's really good with names, and I can't remember any of these characters for the life of me. It's really hard for me to remember, and they're just kind of copy and paste characters. I mean, the only characters who ever got any fleshing out or any sort of, like, you know, stood out was the characters involved with this love triangle, and I think that was probably the only highlight of the show, like, character-wise for it. So, I think I'll move on to art now. Animation. So when it comes to the art and animation, the animation is pretty average as a whole. I mean, it has a very nice color scheme, you know, very vibrant and bright, and, you know, goes with the lighthearted part of the show. So, FYI, the colours are pretty. It has a cute look to it, and also when it transitions to more darker and serious tones of the show, it does have a bit more of a dim and grey colour scheme, which I thought was really nice to sort of set the mood. Background animation is pretty average, and I thought the character designs were pretty basic, especially because this show was made in, 2002, so not really much originally going. I think I'll talk about the sound. I think we'll move on to sound now. The opening and the ending song were pretty forgettable, very standard. They didn't really resonate with me that much. It's like, this is not a sound piece that I would go out willingly to listen to by itself. It was just it's a soundtrack that kind of exists. Like the characters, you know, they just kind of exist. I thought the OST was forgettable, except there are a few tracks that fit the show very well, and I'll give credit for that. Also, if you want to know, the OST was done by Yuki Kano, who's worked on other anime OSTs such as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Aijin. I thought the voice acting was for the show was fine. You know, it fitted, and they acted. I think the acting was alright. And, you know, the sub was very well done because there is no dub, and I doubt there is actually any dub for this series, even for its sequels and stuff. So yeah, so sound was alright. I think it's time to move on to enjoyment. I found the show pretty bland most of the times, and when I was watching it, I only loved the parts as well as love triangle parts that move the story along. And I think another thing that I really enjoyed about the show was actually quite relaxing to watch. I mean, it's a nice show if you want to just kick back and just enjoy something for what it is. So I mean, I enjoyed it for what it is, and I think for what it is, it definitely gives credit. So I think enjoyment-wise, you know, it's relaxing and takes itself serious enough, and I really enjoy that kind of element. I think I'll go to final thoughts now. Overall, or in my conclusion, if you like visual novel adaptations or shows that take their drama and romance somewhat seriously, but then you'll probably like this show. But I have to warn you, this show is very copy and paste. Like, if you're an experienced anime fan, a lot of the stuff the show's going to do, you'll see a mile coming away. And in fact, a lot of the things that the show has done, other shows have done better. For example, like shows like Shuffle. I mean, Shuffle's a really good, the anime Shuffle's a very good example of this, but done better. And I mean, it's just kind of just a very typical show. Like, it isn't breaking any ground rules here. I mean, I think that's the only thing that really hurts it, is because it's very dated by today's standards. I mean, when it first came out, this would have been pretty decent, but by nowadays, this is just something that's been done already. So there isn't really much of a rewatch value with it. I mean, if you want to watch it based on my recommendation, then go ahead. I mean, it's worth a quick watch if you like what you see, but I don't think it should be elevated beyond the point of, oh hey, this was a fine show, you know. So I think in final conclusion, it's an alright show. I mean, it's decent for what it is, but it's very dated, and what it's done has already been done before, and in some cases better. This is Bio Gundam. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully this doesn't come out like a complete butchered wreck, because my editing is garbage, and sometimes when I talk it doesn't convey myself clearly. So thank you all for watching. This is Bio Gundam signing off. Alright.